I'm going to have your picture, and then I didn't bring my tripod, so... but we'll talk, and then we'll look at different crops and the different trees. Okay, you ready?
Well, I thought you had already taken it.
No, we're just going to keep talking. And then, okay, I guess you can say your name, Javier, and where you live. So I'll put the microphone to you, though.
Sure. My name is Javier Garcia, and I've been farming around 700 acres in the Corning area, and I planted this ranch myself, and it's 5.5 years old. And I used multi-fix when I first planted it, and I didn't lost hardly any trees at all. I lost 30-some trees out of 50,000. And last year I planted some more, and I lost more trees last year than in 40 acres than I did in 325 that I planted before.
Wow. What about the year that you planted them? Was there a problem with the freeze that year with the nursery stock?
There was problems in neighbor. He had problems with the freeze, and I had no problems at all, even though my trees were younger, and I had no problems at all.
What about before you planted the trees? I believe you said the nursery in Visalia had some
Yes.
freeze area.
Yes, they had a few problems, so they delayed the trees for the same reason, because they had a few problems, kind of cooked the tops of the trees, and that's the reason why they delayed the delivery.
But what time of year did you end up planting, and what's the normal time of year for planting your olives in this area of Corning, California?
The normal for planting, it's January through March, but I end up planting in August and September for the same reason that they have problems with the trees.
What's the average temperature in August and September in this area?
It varies, but it's from 90 to 100 degrees.
And that's a bad time to be planting new trees in that high of heat, and you said you lost very few trees.
Yeah, it's not the normal time to plant, but I had good luck, and out of 50,000 trees, I only lost 30-some trees, and I don't. I know I didn't lost them because of the weather. I lost them because mishandling the trees.
And you used the multi-fix in the planting. How did you apply it with the multi-fix with the new trees?
Well, I made a couple pipes with holes on the side, and stick the pipe on the ground, and that's how I got the ground wet with multi-fix.
And when you first started using multi-fix, I think you had your relative that had used it on vegetables, and he had told you. Can you tell us more about that story?
Well, that's my son. He used it in vegetables, and he had good results. They even overgrew because he over put it. The dose he used, it was too high of dose, but he was very happy with it.
Did the crop turn out and he was able to sell it at a high price? What was the quality of the crop?
Oh, the quality was good. It was very good quality, yeah.
On what vegetables was that, Javier?
Peas.
Okay, and then on your olives, when you very first started, maybe 6 years or 7 years ago, you tried the multi-fix on I believe, 40 acres of your 400 acres at that time. What did you see on that 40 acres when you first tried the multi-fix on your olive trees?
Well, what I saw, I used Ken 17 on one block, and the other block one by the other. Then I used the multi-fix, and it was a big change. The Ken 17, it showed up faster, but it didn't last on the trees. So in 2 weeks it was gone, and where the multi-fix was showing more and more. you could see the results. You can see big results, big difference from one to the other.
Was there any change in the soil that you could tell?
No, no.
But what about water penetration?
Well, it's pretty hard to really pinpoint so quick, but something had to be done to the soil in order to make the trees grow better olives.
And what happened on, you mentioned the weaker trees rebounded faster and that helped your yield, but what happened on your overall crop that very first year?
Well, it helped the crop, and so it must have helped the trees also. That's the reason why your yield had to be better.
Were the weak trees, did you notice a visual difference? Did they become stronger?
Oh yes, yes, the trees got better.
And then as far as the crop, you've used it for a number of years on the mature olives. What is the quality and the yields that you're getting on your older trees?
Well, the yields it varies. It goes from year to year because depending on how the weather. Some years you get bigger crops than others, but one thing I can assure is that the trees get stronger with multi-fix.
And is the fruit size, the olive size bigger, or is there a quality change?
Yeah, there was a big change on quality, especially one thing I noticed that when the fruit didn't mature as fast as the other blocks that I didn't use no multi-fix. It kind of helped even hold the crop for longer time.
Is that good or bad in olives?
Well, it's good because it give you a bigger window for harvest.
And then one year there was during bloom period. I believe you said the cannery came and asked you to take pollen. Can you tell the story of the pollen?
Yeah, they got pollen from me for a few years, and the pollen it's something that the cannery was selling it to some other growers in different areas, and that's as far as I know.
But I thought you said some of the neighbors did not have any pollen the year that you had problems, and the cannery came and got pollen from you, and then you were the only one in this area that had adequate pollen where the multifix was.
Well, you can add that as far as the pollen, I I, I always have kind of nicer orchards, and so the stronger trees, and that's why you get better, more pollen.
Was there a year that the neighbors didn't have pollen though? They had some disruption in the trees from the weather and they had very little pollen and that's why they wanted to get pollen from you?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And you were telling me on these trees behind us right now, you were telling me the age of them, and these were the ones that were planted in August and September, and you were telling me the age of them. Can you tell me what kind of production you're getting and what you're seeing on these now 5-year-old trees?
In 203, I got 180 tons out of 325 acres. And last year I was 3 tons shy of 1,300.
1,300 tons for how many acres?
325.
And what do you think is the average in this area for that
Well,
that age tree?
if you calculate, that's 4 tons to the acre, and for young trees, that's a big tonnage per acre.
Do you think the multifix made a significant difference on the yields that you're getting off these trees that are now 5 years old?
Well, it sure made a difference if the trees grow good, so it had to make a difference.
What about application of multifix? What do you think as far as applying the multifix compared to other products? Is it easy to use or hard to use, or does it work with your other materials?
Well, it's an easy material to use, very easy. You can apply it through your irrigation or your spray.
And do you ever see any changes, though, in your trees compared to your neighbor's trees that do the exact same thing?
Well, nobody does exactly the same thing, so it's hard to really pinpoint because I always do most of my farming farming practice totally different than most people, and I seen I seen a lot better results because I know a lot of growers around here, and they got trees triple the age, and they don't have the tonnage that I've been getting.
On your older trees, what's the age of some of those trees close to your shop? On your older trees, how many years old are those trees?
They're around 100 years old.
And you're saying those rebounded and are producing well even at 100 years old when they should be dropping off in production?
No, the production on an older tree, if you do the right things, you can keep getting big tonnage. Because if you have a new growth on those old trees, that's where you get your tonnage. And I've been getting good tonnage out of those trees.
Did you see a lot of new growth on the old trees when you started using the multi-fix? Is that one of the things you saw?
Oh yes, it puts out a lot more growth. Yeah.
What about the pruning? Do you see a difference in pruning and the wood being stronger when you prune where the multi-fix is used?
Yes, and one other thing is that the color on the trees is totally different than when you don't use multi-fix.
What do you mean on the color? The darkness, or on olive they have a unique color from any other tree, but what do you mean on color darker?
Uh, Darker green, looking more like olive, better than where you don't use it.
Okay. All right. Is there what do you really think? Do you appreciate the multi-fix and you think it's a good product, or give me in your own words what you think of the multi-fix and how it's done for you?
Multi-fix, it's a little expensive, but as far as a good chemical, it is a very good chemical.
And has it worked well for you? And you think the multi-fix, even though it's expensive, has made you money?
Yes, it's expensive, but sometimes can be more expensive if you don't do things.
Okay. Thank you for your time, Javier. We appreciate you.
Thank you.